Hi, everyone. Mike White here. Welcome to this week's vlog post. Here we go again. We're approaching May 1st. There's going to be some significant changes in our industry. And, all I can say is, have we not ever learned anything about history? It's an amazing thing to me that just a few short years ago, we had a huge mortgage meltdown, a huge worldwide financial crisis, all built upon the backs of a misproven or an unproven theory that if you make unworthy borrowers eligible to borrow money with low or no standards and no consequences, that they would somehow become fluent in the financial world and miraculously improve their habits and pay their bills on time, repay their obligations, and the world would be a wonderful place. And if there's anything that we know that that's not true. And starting on Monday, there are going to be a vast majority of people who are taking mortgage loans who are going to be forced to pay for those people who have made poor choices throughout their lives and decided not to follow the rules, decided that somehow or another they couldn't pay their obligations on time or at all. And the government has decided with a stroke of a pen, to be honest with you, that we're going to impose these new rules on the world so that the people who have done everything right are now put in a position to pay for those once again of those who refuse to do the things. Because the one thing that we do know is your credit score is 100% voluntary. Your credit score, your credit rating, 100% on you. There's nothing that is not your responsibility, nothing that's not your fault. And this only leads further into the fact that, the government thinks that we need to help the weakest of the people in this country by giving them things as opposed to teaching them how to get better. And that's a problem. We've seen this before. We've had the mortgage meltdown. We lowered standards. We gave away money. We lent with very little, if any, conditions whatsoever. Didn't work then, won't work now. Now, the challenges right now are not necessarily the same as they were back then. What they're doing across the board is they're just saying, even for people with below average credit scores, and let's be honest, depending on what survey you look at, the average credit score in the United States is around 710, a couple of points higher or lower either way. This impacts people actually credit scores lower than average, which starts at 680. So if you've got a 680 credit score or higher, you're going to get penalized. You're going to pay more money so that the people with lower credit scores can do so. And coming in August, by the way, there's going to be a penalty assessed to everyone with their DTIs. If you're 40% or higher on your DTI, you're going to pay more to borrow money, but that's coming in August. The point is it's not going to help what they think it's going to help. It's not going to help first-time home buyers get houses. It's not going to help first-time home buyers buy those properties. We're talking about rewarding people to the tune of about, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 bucks a month, somewhere in that neighborhood, because of the fees that they were paying because they had below average credit, which is a risk assessment, by the way, that every other industry makes. If you look at credit cards, if you look at car loans are even more amazing, because I did some research, and you look at car loans and you can see the disparity between the weakest possible borrower and a really good credit borrower. The weakest borrower pays almost 3 times or more in interest than the strongest borrower does. Why? Because the car is a depreciating asset and it's expensive to go repossess, and they know that the person who's got bad credit may not be taking care of the vehicle, so it may not be worth as much if they have to come get it, that whole thing. But the point here is why don't we look at this from a pragmatic way and say, hey, let's understand something here. I believe that a lot of people who have bad credit are not fully aware of why they have bad credit. So let's start with that. Why is, instead of just saying to everybody, we're going to penalize those people who did it right, to those people who either don't know any better or refuse to know better, why don't we do, if we're going to do something, why don't we do something that'll improve their entire lives? Because guess what? I can lower your mortgage payment by 20, 30, 40 bucks a month by giving you money that you don't deserve, by, that could help. But that's not going to improve their rate on their homeowners insurance. It's not going to improve the rate on their PMI. It's not going to improve the rate on their credit cards or their car loans or any other type of thing that impacts their lives and where they spend money. Certainly to the tune of 30, 40, 50 bucks a month. And again, this does only, apply to conforming loans. And I find it amazing because the weakest borrowers tend to go for government insured programs where the standards are already more lenient. So they already have programs that are available to them to assist in that process. There's also, again, if it's about there's down payment assistance programs, there's USDA program. There's all sorts of, there's more programs for people who need to borrow money who are in less than ideal circumstances. So why is it in the conforming arena with people who have done the right thing, why are they the ones to pay? Why are we not just saying, you know what, if the mortgage industry is going to be the financier of this, and okay, let's maybe just say that that's what it has to be. So why don't we take 10 basis points alone? And why don't we put it into a fund? And let's make financial literacy programs mandatory in every high school in the United States, that every child has to take a financial literacy class. They have to live by and perform a budget, and they have to pass a test or they don't graduate. How about we do that financial literacy? How about we do what HUD used to do back in the day, which was have homeowners classes. If you've got less than a 680 credit score, then you have to go to financial homeownership classes for 40 hours and take these classes and pass the test to establish a budget and understand all the things that you need to understand or you should understand before buying a home. At least you're putting somebody in a position to earn their way into an outcome that they can carry with them for the rest of their lives, not just a temporary boost at the expense of a small handful of people who've done nothing wrong. It's ridiculous. And again, I don't mind helping the next guy out, but I'm not giving somebody something for nothing. Okay, it's like let's at least have a chance that people will learn something, because again, we've all seen it. We've had borrowers, every one of us, that either didn't qualify or barely qualified, that we helped through either by putting them into a credit repair program or helping them themselves or showing them why certain things happen, and they've improved their credit scores. It's not that hard. It takes some time. It takes some effort. It takes making choices. But guess what? It's 100% achievable. It may take 3 weeks. It may take 3 months. It may take 3 years, but you can get there if you know what you need to do and then get out there and exercise a plan in order to have it happen. Besides, first-time home buyers are not the issue in today's housing market. People, let's get that through your heads. It's not that there's a lack of first-time home buyers that's keeping the housing market, restrained. Let's be honest. We've built a million houses a year less than what we need based upon family formations in this country. We've got millions of people a year coming into this country. We're not building houses for those people. And where do you think a lot of those people live? You think they're buying 5.3s in the affluent part of town? They're likely finding entry-level houses. Investors are finding entry-level houses. Why? Let's be honest with it. They're going to shove a whole bunch of people into these houses because those people are going to look for a place to stay. It's not the $40 or $50 a month in the monthly payment. It's not taxing somebody who did nothing wrong. The housing market is not an issue right now because of first-time homebuyers not being able to borrow money, or they can't borrow, enough money to get a house that they can afford. If you can afford it and if you can pay it back in this country, if you can afford it and you can pay it back, and if you show that you can and you're willing to do so, you'll get the money. The people who have trouble getting money are people who have proven that they can't afford it. They make bad choices. They don't understand the impacts. Because I guarantee you, the people who are yelling and screaming that they're going to need this $20, $30, $40 a month have $1,400 cell phones, have 3 or 4 or 5 streaming services that they're paying for. I see other people who complain about money. Oh, we don't have enough money, and they go to Starbucks twice a day. They go out and buy lunch. They've got $1,000 a month car payment. Let's be honest. It's not because the first-time home buyer doesn't have access to being able to get money to buy a house. It's quite frankly the cost of those first-time home buyer houses and the demand of those first-time home buyer houses is because there's just not enough of them. And that's what makes the price go higher. And apparently, nobody in the government understands supply and demand. Maybe it's the same people who think inflation was transitory, right? So all these things, but the government making another bad decision to impact millions of people who didn't do anything wrong, to try to help people that it's not going to help at all, it's just beyond my capacity to comprehend why they would go down this path. They just don't see it. We've been here before. We've learned nothing from the past experiences. As always, questions or comments, it's Mike at imtcoaching.com. Take care.